Hello everybody, welcome. I'm No02 and thank you for watching this video. We have another update, some more teasing. Turtle Rock, such a tease for their August 30th release date for Children of the Worm. We'll start off with the two quick bits here and then we'll get into the juicy bits, the card teases, the card releases. We have the bow. Quickly fire for moderate damage. Slowly draw your arrows back for increased damage and accuracy. Sounds like a bow and arrow. Let's move on. We can speculate that maybe there's more to this. Maybe you can light the arrows on fire because there's the little, I don't know, cloth thing zip tied to the front of it, and maybe we can light it on fire, but speculation. It's a bow and arrow. I'm not particularly excited for it. Iron Claws for all of you melee characters out there. Fast slashes apply bleed damage and increase melee attack speed. Attack speed? Love it. Sounds fun. Bleed damage? Sounds like you're stabbing mutations with it because who cares about bleed damage versus zombies who have 20, 30 points of health anyways? So, this might be encouraging to use against breakers, ogres, the hag. Maybe. But for the most part, if you are in a situation where you are running a melee deck that allows you to do big damage to breakers with like a fire axe or something like that, I mean, you're already fully committed. Like, you have your entire deck is committed to melee cards. Not indicative for the sort of play style that I tend to show off here with the solo play, whether with bots or with other human beings. Usually I stay away from the all in on one thing sort of decks, but I think in a general sense, this sounds like this might be good versus bosses, but speculation, we'll see how it goes. But I think the attack speed, always fun, always fun. Everyone loves Berserker. But here's the juicy bits. The new incoming cards, we got 3 of them. We got another activate here on the far left, Ultrasonic Wound Therapy. Activate your offensive slot to emit a pulse that heals teammates within 25 meters for 1 health every second for 7 seconds. So 7 HP. I would assume that this effect benefits from other healing efficiency cards. Maybe it benefits from antibiotic ointment and gives people temporary health. Maybe it benefits from poultice, I don't know. But for the most part, I assume that this is going to benefit from some of the healing cards and will synergize with it. But I don't think this is even remotely close enough to be worth losing your offensive slot. The other offensive slot card that they talked about with this activate ability, talked about in a previous video, I don't remember what it did. I think it was like defensive, like you reduced incoming damage. Regardless, the offensive slot is the most important thing in the entire game by a huge amount. The most important thing in the entire game is having the ability to throw something, whether it's a Molotov or even firecrackers. The offensive slot is the most powerful tool that you, the player, have access to in the whole game. Is this worth it? Not even close. I can't wait to be upset by having random people on my team using this ability and hear them talk about how much they love it, because it's not. It's bad. I'm sorry. It's bad. This sort of like falls into that category of combat knife, because I can't stand the combat knife, because the punching is so good in this game. And after they nerf the combat knife, it's really bad again. This is just like the combat knife, where we are hindering ourselves. We pick a card that hurts us because we remove something that is great, replace it with something that's not so great. Anyways, we're moving on. You guys know how I feel about it. Suppressing Fire. A different take on the artwork here. Damaging Ridden with LMGs and snipers has a 40% chance to slow Ridden near the target by 50% for 5 seconds. This is very interesting. Now, when it comes to just like shooting into a horde of zombies, for the most part, dealing with a horde of zombies is not a big deal. If you're smart with your positioning, know where to stand, horde of zombies is not a big issue. And if you're shooting an LMG into a horde of zombies, you know, each zombie is going to be dropped with 1 shot, 2 shots. I'm curious if you get a headshot and insta drop the Ridden, does this effect apply? Does the effect only apply if the Ridden survives the initial bullet? If not, then shooting common, not going to be a big deal because you should just be aiming for headshots anyways. And if you're running an LMG, chances are your LMG's going to one-tap the head anyways. But this is sort of interesting in that, what if there is a mutation sort of surrounded by common, right? Big old horde event, common charging in, as well as a tall boy or something. You can focus fire the tall boy and potentially stun or slow down, cause the slow effect on the normals around it. Sort of an interesting take. 50%, that's a lot. But I think this is going to be a card that just doesn't quite make the cut. Interesting concept. Maybe more valuable with the sniper rifle, because the sniper rifle is focusing on the mutations. And if they happen to slow down the horde of zombies by 50%, then they sort of like are able to eliminate the mutations and still provide some amount of crowd control. Kind of an interesting concept. I like the idea of this card. Very, very cool. Again, just like so much potential with this game as far as the card system goes. Hope this game continues to get more content, because I love the card system. I think it's super fun. But I don't think that suppressing fire is going to be a card that really quite makes it. Notice the card type. I haven't noticed this before. It's called a talent. Did they rework all the card types in the past? I thought they did something like that, but I don't recall talent. But for the most part, we haven't really had too many cards that even synergize yet with the card type, right? We don't have any card that say you get +1 damage for each talent card in your deck or things like that. Like, whole other mechanic that hasn't even been explored yet. Not even been explored yet, but could be a thing in the future. Belligerent. Talent. I usually don't consider those people to be very talented. Gain a stacking 5% increase to damage each time a horde is called, up to 5 stacks. All stacks are removed upon receiving damage from the ridden. Cool card. I love the idea of it. 25% flat damage. There's really no drawback to this card. Right, we're looking at, that would be one of the highest bonus damage cards in the game, in the whole game. The only other card that I can think of that really like gives you flat damage for free, not like bullet damage, like straight up damage, it applies to everything, even your grenades and stuff like that, is was it Confident Killer, which is 15%, and it's a growth over time. So cool idea, cool concept. I think probably one of those things that might, if you are the sniper player, you always feel like you're in the back and you're safe and you're playing super safe. You can probably get a lot of value out of this card. I think this is a card that I would probably never run solo, but in a team setting where you're coordinated and working with people, this might be a cool card to have to really just pump out the damage. Because for the most part, if you don't know this, damage is king in Back 4 Blood. If your whole team just runs damage cards, bullet damage, silver bullets, Confident Killer, maybe even somebody's running glass cannon for the most part, and everyone's just like, a weapon, though, was a weapon scavenger. You guys can keep your weapons scaling up as you go through the mission. The game is free. The game is free. And you got grenades to cover and you got grenades to sort of fill in the gaps when things don't work out. You can't lose. You can't lose. Your whole team just focus fires mutations, and they go down, and you stand in the right place, and the horde is easy to deal with. So this might work in a team composition like that, where everyone's going damage, and it's just like you just blow everything up before it gets to you. Cool. I think in the solo sense, probably not going to be a card we want to run, because once our teammates are dead and we're sort of running around ourselves, usually damage is not the issue that we run into. It's usually health and grenade economy. Here's our final two cards, and sort of a look into the new mechanic, potentially new concept. There was a achievement for it, a hidden achievement that we talked about. That was like something about nutrition, getting food. We got Food Scavenger talent. Add a moderate amount of food items to the world. Food items restore an additional 5 health. So my take on this is that there's now going to be natural food spawns in the game. There's random things of food that you can pick up, and it gives you health, I imagine. I don't know, they're making the game easier, and then you can run Food Scavenger and find more food, and they heal for more. So kind of an interesting concept. I don't know if this would ever replace Support Scavenger, right? Because Unless there's cards that synergize with food, or maybe food's doing something else for us in addition to giving us health, some sort of buff maybe. Why wouldn't you just run support scavenger, find random support items, and then those support items can have a whole plethora of buffs and effects based off of the cards that we're running in our deck. So I don't know. Maybe overall health potentially gained is greater with food scavenger because there's, I don't know, more frequency in spawn than what we get with support scavenger. But interesting idea. We'll have to see what it looks like, what the food really does for us, if there is any extra effects or what have you. But otherwise, I just don't see this competing with support scavenger right now. In the new mechanic, the activate mechanic, experimental stimulants. Activate your support slot to create a 10-meter area that gives teammates that enter it 15% increased damage and 25% increased reload speed. Yes, yes, yes. The support slot, kind of important. We would never really run this in solo queue. We would never run this with random teammates. We wouldn't really ever run this with bots, in the solo sense. But in a team setting, I think this is great. I think this is one of the best cards that they've released with this new mechanic. Like I said before, damage is king. When it comes to overall DPS, we want damage per bullet, we want fire rate. Those are sort of the main two things. The other sort of side elements that increase our sort of damage over time is going to be magazine size and reload speed. And we get one of the major ones, and we get one of the minor things as far as increasing our overall DPS over the course of a long fight. Especially when we're dealing with bosses, where you're going to be fighting a boss and reloading multiple times. The time saved reloading is added to your TTK when it comes to eliminating those bosses. Can be very important when dealing with a breaker, eliminating the breaker before he does a second horde call, things like that. So, in a team setting, not having your support slot, not nearly as huge of a deal, because typically in those team settings, especially with coordinated teams, right, not talking about randoms, right, we're not talking about solo queue in the quick play, but typically in these team settings, you have a designated healer. You have a designated healer. And having that designated healer, typically I like to talk about, they have access to the entire team's healing accessories. I usually don't like getting a lot of extra healing slots on supports, because the most correct way to play the mid-max it is that your teammates drop things on the ground for you to pick up and then heal them with. So you don't just have to worry about your support slot size. You should be accessing your entire team support slot size. And if we think of it in that sense, you begin with 4 slots. 4 slots, no cards, 4 slots. And if you have support scavenger, you have even more. You can use things freely. Usually having extra slots for support items, usually not a big deal. So having one player sacrifice one slot, one support item carry, for an extra 15% damage for the entire team, making this the best team damage boost card, other than Shredder, right? But it's better than Shredder because we get a 25% increase for our reload speed. Granted, Shredder, being a different damage type, is multiplicative with other damage types, but for the most part, this and Shredder now are the only 2 cards that give 15% damage to the entire team. That's a lot of damage. 45% increased damage net gain. I think experimental stimulants might be a must-include card for team games. We'll see what this activation thing looks like, but I think already this is going to be one of the top tier cards. If you're running a 4-man coordinated team, someone on your team will probably should be running this card. Very, very cool. Love to see it. Love the new mechanic. Though most of the cards are doo-doo, just love the fact, a proof of concept, that there is multiple mechanics to be had in future updates, in future expansions. We'll probably see this concept expanded upon, as well as new mechanics as well. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Hope you're excited. I'm super excited. Let me know what you think in the comments, theories, ideas. Are you guys excited for the bow and arrow? I'm not. Are you excited for the iron claws? Yeah. But these cards, though. This card, though. Quite excited for food scavenger. See how it goes. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the future.